what I generally, start with is what is the objective of the interview? What is that the interviewer is wanting to check, and what is the interviewee supposed to do during an interview? Now, when I was, in engineering and, was kind of there in our place, in my head, I always believed that, the interviewer would be, somebody who probably hates people, tries to, rack people, has fun when, kind of people don't have the answers. And over the years, as I, became an interviewer myself and, again, as a part of my job, became a bar raiser for my organization. What I've realized is that none of this is true and, it's all in the head. The interviewer is trying to search for very, very basic answers, uh, starting with, is the candidate having the right uh, temperament, the right personality, the right soft skills to succeed in this role. I think that is the most critical thing as an interviewer anybody would look for. Then the next part is that is this person having the right technical skill or functional skill, depending on whether you are graduating from from a technical course or like say an MBA course and so on and so forth. But does the person have the right skill set? The next part is, is the person really adaptable? Can the person really adapt to the kind of role, the kind of situation that he'll be thrown into? And then the last probably is that is the candidate really able to think uh, think well and kind of answer it in full clarity. I think these are three, four things which are extremely critical, that an interviewer would search for. Uh, what the interviewee is supposed to do is first believe that an interview is like like an elevator pitch, something where you have to sell yourself. And that's where, how do you start, how do you communicate, how do you kind of enter the room, and all of that becomes very important. So the first and foremost thing, and just think of interview as probably meeting somebody for the first time at a personal level, right? Now, when you meet somebody, either you will like that person or you will say कि यार it's okay, ठीक ठीक है, चल रहा है types, or you will say कि यार पसंद नहीं आया, somehow the chemistry didn't match. Now, the maximum chance that you will have to, if you want to crack an interview is if your initial, few minutes, minutes of engagement with the interviewer are positive. So the most important part is that how do you make that good impression? And then again, your basic courtesy, your basic, soft skills, comes into picture. And then again, how well do you listen, how curious you are, and so on and so forth, right? So that is like just a very basic thing, which I think all of us know. The next part is, how do you understand what the interviewer is trying to ask you? One very important skill is to listen well. Sometimes what happens, the person is so excited or so sometimes so well prepared that the interview doesn't even want to listen to the interviewer. So, the moment an interviewer will ask a question, the person will, just kind of start like a Shatabdi Express and probably, end after like 15-20 minutes. So, one very important thing is to know when to stop and how much to talk, right? So, the interviewer will ask questions, as you complete your point, and it's not just your first chance of talking about everything that you know about yourself. So be very, very specific in your answer. Another suggestion, or good practice is to be very honest with yourself, whether you know the answer or you don't. uh, it's very important that if you don't know the answer, you communicate to the interviewer that, and if you've not understood the question, it's a good practice to kind of ask the question again and say that, sir or ma'am, could you please repeat the question, or could you, just maybe give more guidance on, what exactly do you want to know from me? That's if you've not really understood the question. If you understood the question and you believe that you don't know the exact answer, please don't bluff. I think most of the interviewers really feel irritated if they've asked you one question and you kind of respond with a very different answer. Uh, and I think this is what a lot of people are told. I mean, when I was sitting in the placements in VIP, and that was way back in 2000, I think six. Uh, uh, I mean, at least my seniors told me that if you don't know an answer, just kind of go round and round and say something. I think that's a completely wrong strategy. The interviewers completely understand that you may not know everything, and it's okay to just tell them that, sir, ma'am, I'm not very sure of this answer. Uh, what I know is X, Y, Z. Would you like me to talk about X, Y, Z, or could you ask me to kind of pass this question? So I think that's a great practice. It just builds more trust. The interviewer also believes that this person is honest. Uh, believes that he or she doesn't know everything and is okay with it. So that's an important point that you should remember. Um, Another very important thing is how do you frame your answers. So there are two types of questions, right? So one is where you are supposed to, when an interview kind of asks you about yourself, right? So think of a very simple question. Say, uh, who are all who all are there in your family, right? Now, see what's very important, and somehow people usually believe small talk is bad, but I very strongly believe that's not bad. Just think of two scenarios, right? So one scenario is some the interviewer asks you, who all are there in your family, and you say, my I have a nuclear family. I have my dad, mom, my elder brother, and me. And then you are quiet. It will just be like a very awkward silence, and versus think if you immediately say that we have a nuclear family. Uh, my mom, dad, brother, and I, we stay together in the city. My father is you know say an engineer. He graduated from so and so. My mom is say a faculty in so and so institute. My elder brother is doing XYZ, and I did my schooling from so and so school, and I've just completed my engineering. Because then the interviewer also has something else to ask, right? So be very careful that at least in the initial few minutes, if an interviewer asks you some questions, try to do some small talk. Obviously, don't start with your biography, because that will kind of bore the interviewer, but just maintain the right balance between being very very to the point, especially if the question is about you, and doing a bit of small talk. So that's one very important thing to know when it's about general questions about you, and so on and so forth. If it's a question about your work, your profession, or anything related to your role, then be very specific. And there are multiple ways of kind of framing your answer. One very common approach is STAR framework, which is situation, uh, where you talk about what was the situation like, why were you doing something that you plan to do. Then you talk about the task, where you talk specifically about what were some of your milestones, what were some of the things that you uh, you know planned to execute. Then you go into the approach, where how did you decide what to do, why did you decide the approach of solving the problem, and then you go back to the overall results, and what were your learnings, and so on and so forth. So a lot of times you'll be asked a very situation kind of questions where somebody will say, give me a situation where suppose you had to uh, kind of work with a large team which had different goals, and you had to execute your own uh, uh, agenda or your own you have to prioritize your own metric, and then you start with the situation. A lot of time what happens is that people directly jump into the approach or jump into the task, and then the interviewer is not really able to understand the situation, and then kind of either believes that the person is a poor communicator, or believes that the person doesn't really know what he or she's talking. So, I mean, the mantra is very simple. That if you can explain a problem, or if you can explain something that you're trying to explain in a very simple manner, the way probably you can, if you will explain to a child, it is a reflection of your deep understanding about that topic. Early in my career, what I used to realize is that, when my leadership would ask me a question, if I knew the answer, my answers were very specific and they were clear. And when I did not know enough about the topic or about the question, I would go round and round and just try to somehow show that I know everything uh, by talking something which is very generic and did not have the right information. And obviously, everybody has a learning curve, and I over time realized that it's better to kind of say that no, I. So the most important part is to be very clear on the uh, the situation, to explain why you had to do or you were supposed to do that you did, what were the stakes, and so on and so forth. And then you talk about the different tasks that you have to execute, and then you move into the approach. Now, when you go to the approach, you also should kind of explain why did you take that approach. So it's not just about saying that what, this is what I did, but if you can also explain that why did you make the choices that you made. So what were the different choices that you had? Why did you choose one over the other? That will give a lot of confidence to the interviewer that you are able to analyze different situations and then kind of you know take action accordingly. And the last part is again result, and again it's not just about telling that everything you did succeeded. It's perfectly fine to say that you tried something, it failed, and it failed for this and this reason. You kind of learn from it, and then you change the track, and then you kind of uh, course corrected, and finally you delivered success. And you can also talk about what did you learn out of it, and so on and so forth. So broadly, in the interview, if you come out of the interview and you believe that it was a good conversation, the chances that you get selected are very high. So as you get into the interview, please be confident. Don't feel scared. The interviewer is not there to beat you up. The interviewer doesn't come with the intent of kind of harassing you. The goal of interviewer is very simple. They want to see whether the candidate is the right fit for the role that they are offering. Again, no student is good, no student is bad. If somebody is selected, doesn't mean that he or she is the best person. If somebody is not selected, it doesn't mean that the person is not the best person or is useless. If a person is selected, it just means that the person was able to prove to the interviewer that he or she is the right fit for the role that interviewer is offering. And again, that's something that you really need to remember, because a lot of times you will face rejection, you will not get shortlisted, So please don't believe that there's something wrong in you. Uh, I mean, just be vocally self-critical. See if there's something that you can learn from others, or from your faculty or from your seniors, and so on and so forth. But if you believe that you've done well and it went well, still you didn't get selected, it could just be that you were not the the most suited person for that role that was being offered. So I think I'll at least I'll stop here